After the shooting, did you have a discussion about it with your kids?
Of course.
What did you talk about with them?
Well, I mostly listened. I mean, they're upset, and they don't necessarily, agree with every viewpoint, even outside of this issue. They're old enough now to have their own ideas, and I've encouraged that. And,
did they take you to task on some of this?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, what's discussed in my family, I'm never going to discuss publicly. Suffice it to say that, they share the same frustration that young people across the country do, and that is, this has happened too many times. This is a generation that's grown up with a number of shootings that repeat each other and nothing ever happens. And so they look to the people who are in charge and say, why don't you guys do something about it? And they're angry. And I understand it. And you know what? I'm glad they're involved, because maybe that will force us all to sit down and basically say, look, guys, we don't all agree on these things, but here are things we can agree on that makes things safer and better. I'm in favor of doing something. I just want to make sure that what we do works, and I want to make sure it covers every aspect of this. There's this false narrative out there that just because you say we have to deal with mental illness means you don't want to deal with the gun part. I'm willing to deal with the gun part. I don't think people like this guy or people like him should have any gun, not an AR-15, any gun. We need to create a system that keeps them from getting it. We don't have one now that does that. That's what I'm in favor of.
So who's going to take the lead on that?
Well, I would imagine, sure, I'm prepared to take the lead, and others are, but I'm being honest with you.
No, but you just said, I'm prepared to, and others are. I mean, is this an issue that am I going to see a Rubio bill about this?
You should, but what I'm trying to tell you with that
is... But will I?
Okay, but I'm trying to tell you is that I don't have that bill yet, because we don't fully understand everything that could have been done to prevent this. I mean, this is not a simple thing like there's one idea, and if you do this one thing, this will never happen again. There's a lot of things we have to do, and I'm being frank, none of us know what all of those things are. We know we need to do something. And now we need to take the time to, and not forever, but we need to take time to understand what that is and be open-minded that some of the things that it might require to make sure this never happens again are potentially things we haven't supported in the past.
You understand the frustration. We heard that after Sandy Hook. We heard that after the church shootings. We heard that after Las Vegas. We hear that after every shooting. And then nothing happened.
And there was a huge debate after Sandy Hook that went all the way to the floor of the U.S. Senate, and ideas on both sides were voted down. On both sides, including ideas that had strong bipartisan support, went down in flames. So perhaps this will serve as a catalyst to restart that, and it should. But it shouldn't have taken this, but it will, and now it has. But my answer to you is we need to have the right answers, and that means we need to be honest about it, and we need to have intake from everyone, from gun experts, from law enforcement, from people in schools. It's not just schools, churches have been shot up as well, by people in the mental health field, by sociologists. We need to take in all of that, and from it come up with ideas, not just one, but many, that solve this.
But why hasn't that happened already?
Well, they tried to in 2013, and as I told you already,
that's 5 years ago.
It is.
And how many mass shootings have we had since then?
Several. And why hasn't it? I don't know the answer. But part of it, I think, is people just move on. The news moves on, society moves on, and politicians move on.
And people say it's the NRA that are holding it back.
Well, I guess, people want to say that they can say it. The bottom line is that it doesn't matter to me. I'm willing to have this debate.
Do they not have clout?
Sure they do. Of course they do. And so do the groups on the other side. Mayor Bloomberg, who, by the way, I'm friends with, has clout too. And they spend a lot of money and time out there. Organizations, some group within 48 hours of the shooting somehow managed to put together 3 billboards and show up in my office and accuse me of being responsible for this.
They're driving around.
But within 48 hours, they put all that together. So there are groups on both sides. They have a right to, by the way. I'm not criticizing them. My point is there are groups on both sides of this issue that have influence. The vast majority of the U.S. media is in favor against the positions I've taken in the past. So there are people that have massive influence on both sides of this issue. The bottom line is we are policymakers. We are put there to solve problems, and one of the fundamental obligations of the federal government is to keep our people safe. We have a mass shooting threat in this country that is real and growing. We need to address it, and we should have addressed it before, and now hopefully this serves as a catalyst to do it now.
Because it hasn't been addressed before, do you feel some responsibility for the shootings that have happened since?
Well, I feel responsibility for the inability to have done something in the past about these issues. I continue to say that despite the fact that the FBI messed up and that the school district didn't report that, and that our laws didn't allow them to report it, and that the sheriff's office responded 30 times and it wasn't reported, and that no one monitored his social media, I think all those things contributed to it. But there's only one person at the end of the day responsible for what happened, and that is this killer. This is the person that's 100% responsible for what he did. The rest of us are responsible for what we didn't do to prevent something like that from happening.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.